Welcome to MOTS, where we'll be applying the Manzer or mostly Thurlow scale of quantitative analysis of pop culture narrative through a binary system.
Or MOTS. This podcast contains spoilers, mature content, and language. Viewer discretion advised.
Welcome to a special episode of MOTS. We're here with an insider in the industry, a professional in the acting business, Clinton Bome, and we're going to be talking to him about his experience and just a general sort of day in the life of what it might be like. So you are why don't you tell the audience what your title is?
I'm a background actor,
Mm-hmm.
that's the official name. The other name, what people know it as extra.
Right. All right. So why don't you tell us, like, how'd you get into doing that? Like, what sparked your interest? Like, what drew you to it?
Well, I was doing like audio post type stuff. I just got out of school for that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I just saw on Craigslist, you want to work on this this show with Martin Scorsese, and I was like, okay.
Yes, I
And
will.
I just went and did that, and then I just kept on going into other shows and stuff like that.
So speaking of that, like, so what was the process like to get started? Like, did you show up like at a casting call, or like was there like what kind of I don't know process did you have to go through to get into it?
It's just simple. Just respond to this ad on Craigslist and basically like shot them some emails. Told them my sizes. Picture of me, what I looked like, and that was really it. And then after I started working and actually did the gig, then I found out a way to subscribe to all these different services. To
like
get basically,
Mm-hmm.
basically to get to get premium subscriptions, so then I can get more work.
Right.
Yeah.
So sort of like a mailing list, almost like a server list for background actors, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the next thing we wanted to ask you is, what's it like? Like, describe sort of a day in the life if you get a part, or as you're getting a part, what's sort of the process like for that? Like you said, you answer it, and then what? Do you go down there, and then who do you talk to, and what do they want you to do, etc.?
Well, a lot of times it depends on like what you're working on or now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they'll want you to go for a fitting,
Right.
or if you bring in your own wardrobe, because a lot of the things what you work on like TV, you got to bring your own wardrobe. So then you got to bring like a whole wardrobe bag full of stuff, and then have them pick it out and they tell you what they want you to wear.
Yeah, I guess I was going to get to that. So, do you have any idea, like, oh, you're going to be in this kind of scene, so you should like bring this and that, this certain kind of wardrobe that would match that? Or you just bring or do you bring in a whole assortment of things and like just hoping that whatever is there, that you have something to fit for that makes sense for that scene?
Yeah. Well, what they do is basically they tell you within a range of what you should bring. You don't want to bring anything what they are telling you not to, because then you're going to be carrying a lot more stuff, So
Sure.
it's basically, I bring a few options, so it's like usually like 3.
Do you have like a standard like sort of a kit that you show up with? Like, yeah, these are probably like, these are the ones I use more often, or these ones like, my normal rotation, if you will. If there's
yeah, I do.
That's cool. Interesting. So, why don't you tell us about like what's the latest part that you were in, or what's the latest thing that you worked on?
Well, the latest thing I worked on, I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. But the last thing I worked on where I didn't sign any one of those was Ghostbusters. That was,
Nice. How was that? Was that a fun one to do?
Well, the first day was pretty fun. The second day, they didn't give us lunch, so a 12-hour day with no lunch is not really fun.
That's pretty harsh, yeah. Actually, I want to that brings me to something I want to get into. Why don't you tell us, like, so if you're once you have a part, say Ghostbusters, do you know how long you're gonna have to be there for? Or they just say show up the next day, and
usually like the minimum hours you're gonna be doing on something like that is like 12 hours.
Okay.
So, and you're going to be there for 12 hours,
right.
If not longer. Like the longest I've been on a set it's gone to like 17 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've heard other people have gone to like 19 and
pretty
other.
intense. That's crazy. Yeah. So, having said that, I guess the next question is, did they ever request like any sort of like special training or anything? Like, did you have to like did they say, oh, you have to go take a class or whatever? Or it's just more sort of show up and they like you and you got your wardrobe and you're like you fit for the scene, so you're hired.
Yeah, basically
Hmm.
that's how it is. Unless there's like some other special, ability what you need. Like I also play guitar, so
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
applied for roles where they have to play guitar.
Hmm. That's cool.
So,
Interesting.
yeah.
So with that, do you sort of like run into the same sort of circle of people? Like if let's say there's a call for again Ghostbusters or whatever else that you're like, hey, I saw you at the last one, or
Oh yeah, I always run into like one or like two. Sometimes like the more recent. Well, the gig I just worked, I didn't really recognize. I only recognized one.
hmm.
But usually, like I work on something, I recognize like 20 people.
Right.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, hey, we're in this one too. So,
yeah.
this one that you said just before the NDA thing. Is that often happen that you find like if you're working on something like okay, well, you can't really talk about it until the movie releases, I'm guessing. Or
Well, unless they're like, because not everybody makes you sign
right.
non-disclosures.
That
It's just, and just these really high budget type things, and they don't want anyone to ruin spoilers or
right,
something
right.
like that. Like, to be honest with you, I don't know what I could really tell you or
Fair,
not.
yeah, fair enough. Well, that's the kind of question I'm getting at. Like, it's interesting to say
Yeah,
like what you're allowed to say about it or not, or if anything at all.
yeah.
I just wanted to know like how how common is that? Do you find more often than not that you're allowed to they're like okay whatever, or they're like I'm sorry you have to sign this and then you can't speak about the movie until whatever.
It hasn't been too bad. It's just been like certain TV shows
Mm,
with in that way.
yeah. Oh, speaking of that, you've worked on various number of television shows that you've been in as well, right? Correct.
Yeah.
What was what if you can tell us the most recent one? Why don't you tell us a little bit about the latest one you've been in, and if not, if if not that not one you can tell us about, how about one of the ones that you liked working, what that was one of the more fun TV experiences that you've been in.
Well, one of the last ones I did was Limitless.
Mm,
We were shooting a scene on the Intrepid,
okay.
uh,
Interesting.
and then that was fun. I can't complain about that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds
Uh,
pretty cool.
my role was a camera guy on that one. Uh,
Nice. Kind of meta.
yeah.
That's funny. So you mentioned before, like you like to try out. You have your own band, or you're in a band, yes. And so if there's a part that like sort of, hey, I play guitar as well. Do they list that for you, or do they sort of like, is it like last minute, like, hey, anybody here play guitar, or insert X other ability
I can be in their like database,
as
whether I
listed?
played as listed, but usually they're not going to list you as listed until they've actually cast you.
Okay, interesting. Yeah,
So,
gotcha. Interesting. So you said, one of the times like you didn't get you were there for 12 hours and didn't give you lunch. How about conversely, tell us like some of the horror stories that you've encountered that like things like that where like you've been treated poorly or perhaps not as well as you thought you would be.
the only thing I was working on this one film, and like literally like I saw the crew falling asleep.
Okay, nice.
So it was like that bad. So it was just kind of like, okay, I don't want to be here. I don't feel
Mm,
the energy.
yeah,
That's probably the
the
worst
worst experience.
experience. Well, yeah, you know.
Fair enough. That's just interesting to like what have you noticed like I don't know if you can speak about this, but let's say you worked with a certain crew or like a certain director, they're like under a studio banner. Are there certain ones that you found to be like better or worse than others? Or like, oh, I really want to work for Studio A because they're so much better, treating their cast versus Studio B, who's sort of like slacking on it.
Oh yeah, well I could say that. I'm not. There's Grant Wilfrey. I like working for them probably the most.
Mm,
There's Central Casting. I'm not a big fan because I'm not a big fan of their phone system.
fair enough, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're based in New York, yes? You do mostly work around there, in and around the area.
Yeah, I do work there. I've done work in Jersey too. There's
Mm.
not as much work in Jersey,
No, nobody likes to come to Jersey. Nobody likes to make movies in Jersey.
but
Trust us, we're here.
I know.
But that's interesting. So, is this something you want to do? Do you think you want to do full time, or just sort of like something to support yourself while you're trying to get your band going, or anything other projects you have? Like, do you see yourself being an actor full time ever, or just sort of like doing this on the side and while you're doing your other interests?
Oh no, I could do this full time. It's just more or less me is whether I want to join the union or not.
Hmm.
That's when I'll make that lovely decision.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I kind of wanted to explore that. If you could talk more about that, like, what are some of the challenges facing, like, if you have to join the union, or if you're going to, if you're deciding to, what are some of the factors that you may have to consider whether or not it's worth it?
Well, I would say the biggest factor is probably it costs $3,000,
Mm,
to go and join the union.
fair enough.
So
Yeah,
you know, say it's a lot of money.
sure. But
um, but some of the other factors are with it is you got to get either three union waivers,
okay.
while doing background, and also there's other ways. If you didn't get the union waivers, you can be tap heart lead.
Mm,
That's
that like a
another
different
way.
avenue to
A
do it.
way. Another way to get into the union, but then you still got to pay the $3,000.
Sure. So it's so like a buy-in fee, and then you're sure you're in union, but you got to scrape that together to start off with.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, can you tell us some of your favorite roles to be in? Like, they want you to be doing this in the back. You said you're a cameraman just
Yeah.
recently. What was your favorite, like, part to be credited as, I suppose?
Um. Hmm. I just like being a rocker.
Okay. So you like that? You're like Clinton Bome, rocker is in the credits, and you're like, all right,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's interesting. So, do you have like if you're going to, let's say, have a choice between two parts, do you have sort of a system to decide like which one, aside from the studio or whatever, like, if all right, I guess that what you just said made me think of this. If you have a choice between rocker and cameraman, you're going to choose rocker, I suppose, right? Even if the parts, say, the pay's equal, and like, everything, all other things being equal, you would choose more that kind of a part than versus the other.
Yeah, I would, but like honestly, I'll do whatever.
Mm, whatever
Is
comes
there
in.
like anything will expand my range?
Mm,
It's cool.
sure. So, given that, maybe can you tell our listeners how many different titles have you been credited under? Like, if you can think of offhand, or estimated, if not.
Well, like a lot of this work is uncredited.
Hmm.
To tell you the truth, I've been credited on some stuff though. Um,
So actually, that's something I want to explore. If it is uncredited, like, I'm assuming you still get paid, of course, but is there a different
yeah,
pay scale if, like, if you actually show up in the credits, or if you're just like, background actor versus having, like, again, a title like cameraman one or whatever it may be?
yeah.
Is there a difference there?
Well, usually, like if you do a gig and you're not getting paid, then you're gonna get credit. If you're getting paid, then you're not getting credit. That's
Oh,
the way it
really?
works.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I never actually knew that. So, given that, which one do you prefer then? If again, if you had two choice between two gigs and one is a type A and one is type B, what's your preference? Which one would you pick to further your?
Well, I much rather be getting paid because then I can enroll in classes
Hmm,
and do other things, to make my resume more seductive, I would
sure,
say.
fair enough.
You know.
Gotcha. That's interesting. Because that's something I was wondering about. Like, which one would you, which one is more helpful for you as to to live, or to further your career? So what else? Is there any other avenues that sort of relate to your acting career that you like to explore? Like, say the band thing, or what other interests and projects do you have going on while you're also doing all
Doing
this?
this. Well, right now I'm taking a little break from music because I'm just kind of burned out with that.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I'm also doing improv classes.
Mm,
Those been fun,
yeah.
get out your comfort zone, and then you just kind of go up there and you don't quite know what you're about to do.
Sure, but is it, like, I'm assuming it's funny. Like you said, you're expanding basically, out of your comfort zone and sort of, maybe honing your skills a little bit more, or like breaking off into something that you wouldn't normally have done, perhaps.
Yeah.
So you said you're taking a break from music, but before that, you had a band. Were you like doing gigs and stuff as well as doing your acting gig, trying to get that going, or how did you sort of cut up your commitment to your band to your commitment to your acting?
Well, I was more or less just focusing on the band when I was doing that, and
Mm,
then members started to drop like
mm.
flies,
Sure.
and then I was just like, okay, it's fine, like I just focused too much energy into this. I'll just go and do other things too.
Hmm.
But I'll get back into the writing. I enjoy it, but it's just kind of like I got sick of playing those, 12 songs,
Yeah, yeah, sure. So with like, do you have like I know I touched upon this earlier, but let's say you run into your circle of friends. Is there any instances where you're sort of in competition with your own friends for a part, and you have to sort of decide who's gonna take it or who might have to step down? If like we like you, like if you Clinton, and like and two or three of other friends, and there's any like
Usually, the AD will like walk up to us and like pick us, and you
Hmm.
don't know what they're gonna have you doing or stuff, like so technically we are in competition with each other, but yeah, you don't know like
Which part?
how
Hmm.
or like where you're gonna be like it's like pepper and salt, you don't know if you're gonna be in good spot or not until like after you're actually placed and you see what's going on.
Interesting. That's kind of funny too. But so, given that, so after you've done a part, do they say like, "Hey, we liked you," or whatever? Like, do you find yourself getting like sort of recurring offers, or like will you, ha, if you do one or a handful of parts, is that helpful to so now you're sort of known, or like you're out there, like you said you were in a database, so you're listed in maybe more companies, will be searching for you, or you'll just be more higher profile in that sense.
That's true. Like the more work you do, the more production, can notice
No,
you.
exactly.
And then also on top of that, if you like, you work really hard, then if they like that,
It shows, yeah.
and
Like, oh, this guy shows up a lot and does a good job. Yeah, sure.
yeah, yeah. So, and then, it can lead you to getting cast in, cooler things. Be like, oh, we know this guy because he worked on this and he's,
Yeah,
good,
we see
you
him
know,
in this, and we liked him. Sure, sure. So
yeah,
sort of snowballs itself. Like, okay, I got a couple things going, and you did a good job, and they liked you, and like now you can so they sort of like further your name around, if you will, I suppose.
yeah, yeah.
All right. So I know, like, again, you mentioned this earlier, but can you tell us perhaps your favorite memory on set? Like like either the funniest story or most interesting stories. Like, did you ever run into like a big star or whatever, and something interesting happened with them, or funny, or just something that from the inside that perhaps only someone in your position would have experienced?
Um, I stood next to a lot of people. One person I really met was can I say
Mm.
that?
Yeah, see, that's what I'm getting at. Whatever story you're allowed to tell us, perhaps you can tell us one.
Well, I would say like the best set I worked on was probably like the first gig what I did, and that was rock and roll, and
Mm.
well, now it's the title of it's called Vinyl.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah,
That was really fun experience, being on a set with Martin Scorsese and just seeing him work,
yeah. So
you know.
did you meet him himself, or like you're just sort of he was just sort of there and you were doing your own thing, or you're being told what to do by whoever else?
Well, and no one's allowed to approach him, and
Mm,
like everyone, and when he's out on the set, everyone's supposed to be quiet.
mm,
So but it's interesting seeing him work,
that's cool. So, would you like to add anything else, or give a plug for anything else that you're working on, or tell us what you're appearing in next, perhaps your next upcoming gig?
Uh, and my next gig, what I booked already, is for the show called The Deuce.
Okay, nice.
All I know is James Franco's the
Mm,
star on that one.
nice. So you said, so you're taking a break from your band. Any plans to come back to that at some point, or if you can, gather other people who can do it with you again?
Oh yeah, it's mostly just has to do with people who are interested,
Mm.
and and yeah, I'm just mostly just not sitting in my room, just working out by myself. If someone wants to come and join me, then that's
Then
cool.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of like then I'll reevaluate the situation. But
Mm.
right now, I'm just kind of like, it's too much energy.
Fair enough. So hypothetically, then, let's say, but you have an equal chance, both your acting career and your musical career takes off. Which one would you choose if you had to choose?
I would choose music.
Fair enough. All right. Anything else you'd like to add, or any other things that I forgot to mention that you'd like to tell our audiences about?
I just thinking if I have any like stories or anything.
Yeah, that's we sort of like. I know you mentioned that you many things perhaps you can't discuss, but anything that you can legally tell us in public. Certainly, if you have again an interesting little encounter or anecdote or something.
Yeah.
Certainly, we'd love to hear it.
What was it? Well, I could tell you which sets have really good food.
Okay, sure. Yeah, which sets have the best food? Give us the inside scoop on that one.
Well, the one when I worked, this one extra, he told me, whenever you work on a set with Tina Fey, there's really good food.
Oh, nice. There you go. So that we know she
So-
hooks you up.
Yeah, she does. Well, I actually got to work on a set with Tina Fey, and
Oh, yeah?
it was for the show Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Okay,
And-
nice.
And at the lovely rap party, I got to eat like lobster tail and all types of like fancy, expensive food. So,
High-end stuff. All right, so you go.
Yeah.
You want to work with her instead versus perhaps the guys who didn't feed you, the production studio who made you work for 12 hours without lunch.
Exactly.
All right. I think we're gonna wrap up. Unless you got again anything else to add at the last minute, or anything else you'd like to plug.
Well, I can plug my band, succumband.com.
Okay.
Succumb Band. I have the lovely website is kind of in disarray at this point, so I should just say Succumb.
Fair enough. All right. Check out
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And yeah.
All right, check out, and also we'll give you a plug here. You could be found at Facebook at Clinton Bome. That's Bome, correct?
Yep.
And your Twitter is at Bomebox, Bomebox.
Yep.
So check Clinton out there, and perhaps he'll be appearing in a background role in a movie or television show near you very soon.
All right.
All right, thanks very much, Clinton. Great
All right.
talking to you. Peace.
Peace.
This has been Bon Mots. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Music and editing by Chris Morgan.
Today's show featured music by Clinton's band Succumbed. To hear more Succumbed tracks, please visit our website at www.thelostsignals.com.
This has been a Lost Signals production. All rights reserved.